Good morning, fellow insomniacs, and welcome to another haphazard, hot mess of an episode of Hey, I Can't Sleep. I'm your host, Jordan James. How y'all doing? I'm feeling a little bit better. Still sick, but on the mend. Had everyone survived a series on borderline personality disorder? Pretty much unscathed? Maybe a little bit? Maybe some knowledge? Maybe you learned something? Maybe you feel stronger going into the world, or maybe you just feel crazier than when you started. Just stick with it, whatever it is. If you feel like you're on the right track, keep going. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the whole point of these videos. So, today we're going to talk about eating disorders. Not all eating disorders, just a few types that I've come across. And I'll talk a bit about my eating disorder, because guess what, I've got one. So if this is something that interests you, stay tuned, otherwise you know the drill. Hey, I can't sleep, won't you come and bitch with me? So grab yourself a tea and come and sit with me all night. Alright, thanks for staying tuned. So, self-disclosure to help end suffering in silence. That's the whole point of this stuff. Okay, well, I was diagnosed as having a binge eating disorder about maybe like a year ago. God, has it been that long? Yeah, so let's talk a bit about what a binge eating disorder is first. So, binge eating disorder is a serious eating disorder in which you frequently consume unusually large amounts of food and feel unable to stop eating. Check. Almost everyone overeats on occasion, such as having seconds or thirds of a holiday meal, but for some people, excessive overeating that feels out of control and becomes a regular occurrence crosses the line to binge eating disorder. When you have binge eating disorder, you may be embarrassed about overeating and vow to stop, but you feel such a compulsion that you can't resist the urges and continue binge eating. If you have binge eating disorder, treatment can help. Okay, so what does that look like for me? Well, I've been doing this since I was a child. So for me, it just seemed like I just had a healthy appetite. You know, at first, it started that way. You know, I was a kid. Yeah, I had a couple of pounds on me. But for the most part, you know, I ate and I played like every other kid. You know, it wasn't until shit started going down, and, you know, when you go into treatment, they're going to ask you questions about your past, because you didn't just get this way overnight. Unless you have some kind of hormonal imbalance or some kind of brain disorder that's affecting your, you know, your chemicals that tell you when you're satiated or when you're still hungry or whatever. Psychological factors can influence the way that you eat. And in my case, that was it. So I had to go back into my history, which is always fun, but necessary. And because of certain kinds of abuse, I used food as a way to self-soothe. You know, and we don't have to have horrific pasts to use food to self-soothe. You know, sometimes food tastes so damn good, it just makes you feel good when you feel depressed. Maybe you have a chemical imbalance, and that's why they say when you have depression, maybe you eat more or eat less. You know, because food causes a rush of dopamine in our body. You know, it causes serotonin levels to go up because it tastes good. It's got sugar in it that's designed to, you know, attack certain parts of our brain to make us feel good. Like, you know, high fructose corn syrups and dyes and sugars and all these chemicals, caffeines, things that are put into our foods to make us crave them. Even, you know, certain, they call food porn, right? You're constantly watching television or going out to eat, foodies, right? You know, there's this whole culture about foods and different kinds of foods and trying new things. And, you know, for people that don't have a binge eating disorder, they can experience these things and be fine with it. But people like me, who've been binge eating disorder since they were kids, it's really hard because we talked about those neuronal pathways, right, in borderline personality disorder. So these patterns of behavior, these tracks that get laid down and they're deep. So I have chronic eating disorder in the sense that this is something that's always going to be there, but I have to use my tools and my skills every day to get through that. And there are some kinds of medication that do help with binge eating disorder if your eating disorders are severe. I mean, some people have to get gastric bypass surgery. Gastric bypass surgery is not an answer for obesity. It's an answer for binge eating disorder because you can only put so much food in your belly. So if you shrink your stomach, you're just going to throw up or you're going to feel sick. Sorry, but that's the reality. For some people, that's their last resort, but try treatment first. Try going to, in my case, living in Niagara, right? Port Colborne Hospital has the Niagara Eating Disorder Outpatient Treatment Center, right? I will put all the information for that up at the end of this video so that you can go. I went into a 15-week treatment group. I met some of the most amazing people in my life in that group, and we bonded like mofos because we had to go down into the darkness, and everyone's got to go down into the darkness. No one's exempt from that. So when you go down into these places together, you benefit because you have a partner or partners to go with. You're not alone. That's the benefit of a group. You know? So I got to do this with a group of women that were fucking incredible and brave. And even though I was the only dude, you know, I'm a trans dude, so I'm a different kind of dude, it was a lot more manageable. And because my eating disorder started when I was female bodied, it made it easier as well to talk about it with women. So, my binge eating disorder, I have a stash, right? A snack stash. And I'm not talking about a snack stash that once in a while I dig into. I'm talking about, like, look, I'm literally sitting here staring at my Tootsie Pops that I smoked. I smoke. Tootsie Pops are my Achilles heel. Look, I have them around because, believe it or not, they're harm reduction for me. If I can have a couple Tootsie Pops, I might not dive into a full meal. That's when I'm not using skills. My eating disorder is pretty severe, unfortunately. I went into a 15-week treatment program, and I also meet with a counselor once a month to check in because that's my addiction, is food. And it's really hard because it's not like it's heroin and I just don't have to use heroin anymore. We need to eat food. You have to eat to live. So it's important to recognize that. It's really hard. It would be like, you know, if you needed heroin to survive. I don't know why I chose heroin. Probably because it's the most dramatic example. But imagine if you needed certain... Okay, here is an example. You're in pain, and you need opiates to help with your pain control. How do you not get addicted to them? Right? That's kind of what I'm talking about here. Is it's like, you need food to live. You need food to feel better about yourself. But you need to find the right amount of food to not overeat and make yourself sick. So... what do you do? Well, eating disorder treatment teaches you how to curb your eating habits, how to look at food again in a different way. Maybe this is the first time you're addressing this, like it was in my case. So for me, it was a really intense experience just to accept that I had a problem. And that this wasn't just about hunger, that this wasn't just about food, that this was also about mental health, my mental health, and what was going on. And this was a symptom. The eating disorder had become a coping skill that no longer could exist because it was causing me harm and stress. So I had to learn that. If you want to learn a bit about what that looked like, stay tuned. Remember, these are 10-minute videos. And then I stopped them because they take too long to upload.